We're really excited to release this next episode with Huibin Yu from Fohlio. One of my favorite things about this episode, David, was how Fohlio really keeps everything all in one place during the supply chain process and really helps increase collaboration between all the different people that are part of that process and gives more visibility for them to help things running more smoothly. What about you?
Yeah, no, it's technology or what have you that I didn't know existed. So I thought it was pretty amazing, and her story alone is pretty incredible. And when you hear her answer to if she could take a time machine, where she would go, is pretty touching and kind of shows who she is as a person. And overall, another great episode.
Absolutely.
All right, enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Modern Hotelier. Both hosts were honored as top 100 influential people in hospitality. We're bringing you interviews with industry experts, thought leaders, and innovators who are shaping the future of hospitality. Whether you're a seasoned hotel professional or just stepping into the industry, our goal is to provide you with insights, knowledge, and trends that will empower you, the modern hotelier.
Today's episode is brought to you by Fohlio, the leading software for specification and procurement management in hospitality design. If you're an interior designer, procurement manager, or owner, you know how overwhelming it can be to manage thousands of products, materials, and finishes. Keeping track of specifications, vendor details, and project timelines is no easy task. That's where Fohlio comes in. Used to specify and procure over 19 million items across 80,000 plus projects, Fohlio can streamline your workflow and allow seamless collaboration with your team. From initial design to procurement through order tracking, Fohlio keeps all your project details organized in one place. Say goodbye to scattered spreadsheets and endless email chains. Organizations like Marriott, Best Western, Sandals, and Hersha are using Fohlio's intuitive centralized platform to create and manage product specifications, generate schedules, and even handle procurement all in one place. Plus, their powerful reporting tools help you ensure deadlines are met and budgets are maintained. Ready to take your project management to the next level? Visit Fohlio.com to learn more and get your personalized demo today. That's Fohlio.com. Transform the way you manage your projects with Fohlio.
Steve, who do we have on the program today?
Hey, David, we have on Huibin Yu today. Huibin is the founder of Fohlio. Fohlio helps recommend products that are local, have shorter lead time, or suggest alternatives that are similar, cheaper, or more sustainable. Prior to Fohlio, Huibin was in the financial industry for a decade. Welcome to the show, Huibin.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, so great. So we're going to go through a couple different areas. We're going to first go through a quick lightning round, ask some questions, get to know you. We've done some research on your background when you've grown up. We're going to dive into your career, and then we're going to ask you some industry topics. Sound good?
Perfect.
All right, here we go. So what was your first job?
My first job was a journalist. So, I always have that adventurous merit side of me. Want to seek the truth. I think that perfect and accurate, data exchange, information exchange is super important for the society to run efficiently. And, that's the value basically I treasure a lot. And maybe that's one of the reasons I started Fohlio.
All right, good. What's your favorite city?
What's my favorite city? That's a tough question. I would say New York. Still New York, people hate New York, people love New York. And it's a city that you can meet a lot of amazing people around the world and get inspirations.
That's good. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I would say that it's the same advice I got from my father, as well as a serial entrepreneur. And they both told me that don't give up. Just don't give up. Yeah. Find a niche and then just focus on it and don't give up.
That's good advice. If you could trade places with someone for a day, who would you trade places with?
Probably with my daughter, so that I can just play house at home. And, instead of hustling every single day. Yes, I would just like to play with her, build, secret hideout under my desk.
Good.
Yes.
That's good. What's something that's on your bucket list?
So I actually signed up for a scuba diving class 2 years ago. I paid for it and I have not yet done it. So hopefully I get to check off this year. Yeah.
All right, good. Is there a secret talent that you have that most people don't know?
I do think that I have a little bit psychic talents. Sometimes I meet someone, like I haven't even seen their face. I just like someone approached, like, enter the room, and I can just tell that, okay, this person would have a certain impact in my life. For example, there is a employee that, like, the moment she walked in on her interview, she start talking, I haven't turned around to see her, and I realized that she's probably the person our team gonna hire. I did not influence the hiring process, and she got hired. So
That's a good talent to have. If you had your own late night talk show, who would your first guest be?
I would say that Elon Musk.
All right, now this is the final one here. If you had a time machine and you could go to the future, the past, which way are you going and what year are you going to?
I would say that to the past, to the year and the date I was born. And okay, it's a very touching, sentimental piece of information. I'm like scared that I'm sharing actually in public. I was born in the era of, like, the beginning of one-child policy in China. So my parents, they wanted a boy. So, and I was the only child. So I just basically want to tell my family that, hey, I'm a perfect girl.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, on the day that I was born. Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So now we're going to dive into a little bit more into your background and what makes you tick. So you kind of alluded this to already. So you actually grew up in Guangzhou, China, correct? How did that shape you into who you are today?
I would say that, like, Guangzhou, China actually is the forefront of, like, China's economic, reform after the Cultural Revolution. So fortunately, my father speaks, English. So, like, he gave me a lot of exposures because he did a lot of business with international people. And so we also got a lot of exposures to, I will always say, the more, like, press freedom from Hong Kong. So that's why, I became a journalist, and I care a lot about, data, information exchange, always super, like, passionate about it. And always, like, want to come to US to study and to learn about the technology sectors and basically, all those, like, trades, I would say that from my family, as well as from the, like, the country, basically just like help me grow to who I am today.
So can you tell us a little bit more about, how it was coming to the United States, and were there any cultural differences that, were hard to pick up or kind of threw you for a curveball?
I would say that it's like how friendly everybody is. So Asian culture is a little bit more reserved. And so there are, things that we're a lot more direct. And there are things a lot we are, like, kind of like keep a boundary. And so just all this kind of, like, I would say that, like, different, I would say that, like, expectation in terms of communications. So, like, I'm still, like, learning a lot because I do have a very, international team, and everyone, came from different backgrounds, especially, in New York City. Like, majority of our team members are international folks. So kind of like try to be more aware and sensitive. And working with clients, our clients do have, like, international team and like, property exposures. So, like, being in New York City and get exposures to people from different backgrounds and culture really help a lot, to train myself to be more sensitive and like collaborative with, like, people with different culture and background. Mm-hmm.
And how did you come to the United States?
I came here for school. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
I went to Columbia for my graduate degree. Yeah.
There you go.
So you went to Columbia School of International Public Affairs. What was that experience like for you?
So most of the students there are very international. So like 50% are foreign students, came from very, I would say, interesting background. Like, a lot of them come from actually pretty influential political family. And we're all kind of crazy, want to change the world. Seriously. A lot of us end up working in NGOs or in the conflict zone. Yes, like, Daughters Without Borders, or, it's just really tried to make a difference and make a statement.
That's great. So now we're going to go onto your career a little bit, how you got to where you are today. So after Columbia, you were an analyst for Goldman Sachs, then a VP at Callion, and then a VP at JP Morgan. What did you learn in these big finance companies that helps you today?
This is a great question. So when I was working in finance, I've been working with the cross asset class derivative trading desk. It's a very long name. because we do very complex financial instruments transactions. So, and like I run the operations and spearhead did a lot of projects to gather different type of financial instruments data from different systems and help the trader structure the trade and execute hedging transactions with different broker dealers and collaborate with salespeople and clients and regulatory reporting end to end. So that experience gave me like great exposures working with some of the most talented actually mathematicians and computer scientists in those investment banks to build very sophisticated like bespoke trading and information exchange systems.
That's great. So you then funded Home Inspire before funding Folio. What was the final thing that kind of made you make that move and make that change?
So actually, that's basically the evolution or pivot of Portfolio. So a few years ago, I bought a house in the burbs. It's like the American dream, and so so as a gut renovation. So I have to basically select a lot of different construction materials, interior, exteriors, and then try to get quotes from different suppliers. I actually have things shipped from China as well, and try to make sure those things get delivered to the job site on time from my contractor. And just like really, that process drove me crazy. So I originally, built a home inspired for like residential use. And then in the early process, I interviewed an architecture friend of mine, Darren Glisson, and then he has been working on both commercial and residential projects. So he showed me how he does like the specifications and how he coordinates different the suppliers getting the quotes and work with contractors. So I realized that actually it's probably more sustainable to be a platform for the professional design firms. And so basically I decided to repivot and build Lifecycle into a B2B model. And because my background is the financial tech, so I borrow some of their, I would say, data architectural concept from my days in Goldman Sachs, as well as I was very familiar with Bloomberg, their trading systems, the data principle of it. So I, just feel that there's a lot of synergy between the problem I was solving for the financial instruments and there are also the construction materials in terms of the data and workflow side of things. So I built Folio in a way that, from the experience I had in the finance world, and then turned out to be actually much better fit for a larger organization that has a lot of project going on and need to monitor their material specification as well as purchasing with different design teams around the world. So yeah, and basically, one step lead to another and to different ideas and feedback from, different clients, we kind of grow to where we are today.
For those who aren't familiar and kind of haven't, run a project like that, can you just give us a little bit more kind of maybe high level background on how the whole concept, how everything kind of works and flows together?
Sure. So Folio basically help organization that does a lot of repeating projects select product that meet their brand standards, and then collaborate, with design teams and procurement teams as well as suppliers to make sure that they always get the best pricing and lead time, and product meet brand standards, and also how to get better insights on which suppliers and materials are best work with for different regions, and how to strategize for procurement so that they can get more volume discounts or more rebates, and making sure that their project open on time, on budget, on brand.
I'm so curious. You've worked at these, huge financial service companies, right? And now you're at a startup, which I feel two totally different worlds. What's the biggest challenge been, or I guess the biggest change from moving from these huge companies to just the startup?
So that's a great question. It's definitely, I would say that one of the things is in the startup, you don't have a pre-existing blueprint. Working in the big organization, although when I was working in those big investment banks, I always in a very basically innovative space, and they have to figure a lot of things out, work with different stakeholders to build new process. And that's where I really fight. If things getting normal, I actually feel bored and I want to move on to the next thing. So I would say the startup is that it's just things always go off plan. You plan something ahead of time, and there's always things just gonna show up and blow up, and you just have to deal with it. And the interesting about building a startup is that also I would say that need to be like a lot more flexible, yeah, agile because of that, and building a business, and also be resilient, and because you don't really get a break, and in the corporate world, you can just take your evening off and take a weekend off running a business, and it's just constantly in my head, even though I'm taking a shower. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where you get the best ideas, probably.
Actually, sometimes I wake up at 3 a.m. and that's where I get the best idea. Just no Slack messaging, no emails. Just let me think through what's the biggest strategy we should focus on.
And do you write it down right after that?
Sometimes I just immediately Slack my people.
Oh, yeah?
And they're like,
That's cool.
why you send stuff at 3 a.m.? Yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea. David, get ready for 3 a.m. Slacks. I'm excited for that. Well, that was great, Huibin. Thanks so much. Now we're going to talk about the industry side of things and how Fohlio is really helping out folks in the hospitality space. So, it was great to hear a little bit more about Fohlio, but what challenges I want to talk specifically about hotels. What challenges are hotels facing that might cause them to implement a lifecycle brand specification and purchasing platform?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So, we have a different type of customers I can talk about. For example, on the franchise store side, so there has been a lot of merger acquisitions, right? And a lot of franchise are diversifying their portfolio, try to compete with Airbnb. Therefore, they basically acquire or invest a lot of lifestyle brands. So lifestyle brands, as have a lot of great personalities, but also it's very hard to actually design and specify procurements because a lot of our custom items that really customize per the locals' fares. And meanwhile, in order for them to scale, you have to have some standardization of the process and okay, which the best suppliers you can get bulk purchasing of your 200 projects across the world from. So it's to strike a balance of customization and have the personality, but also how to standardize the process and get more volume and control the supply chain and make sure that your project can open up on time and without budget for budget overrun is definitely more challenging for large franchise, especially some of franchise in the past they probably maybe 3 years ago they only had 30 brands, and now they have 50 brands and around the world, and it's super hard to have the visibility in terms of where things are, how to get good insight analytics with senior management to look ahead of time. And so that's making sure our every single new brands and from design team and procurement team and owners can collaborate together. It's getting harder and harder. And the same, I would say that for design firms, because clients are getting more and more sophisticated, and design firm constantly try to juggle this have good quality design, really show the creativities, but also not break the bank of the owners, and also collaborate with a procurement company for value engineering, because they don't want the procurement company to really completely destroy their design concept, but they have to collaborate and make sure that the client actually will be happy both aesthetic and financial wise. And so having a very collaborative systems is super important for them, and also for design firms, they constantly looking at which suppliers they want to be a relationship with, and a lot of them actually don't have good analytics in terms of how many products they have specified for certain suppliers. And because the current market there is kind of specification process is very manual. A lot of companies still do a lot of work copy and pasting data from suppliers' websites to spreadsheets, and then convert to a PDF formats, and then copy things into Excel, email. So error happens a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of copy and pasting.
Yeah, exactly. And to try to generate different documents for different stakeholders. Yeah. That's not a fun job. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do you see that the factors are when considering selecting a new platform?
I would say that it's especially we work with organizations that are scaling really fast, is how customizable it is for your organization's growth. especially, during the COVID, there's a lot of merger acquisition, not just on the hotel brand level, even design firms. A lot of design firms decide to merge themselves to achieve more efficiencies, get more clients. So therefore, they end up having to have a needs of, okay, everybody work on the same platform, but a different team can customize their process for the type of business they serve. And so how customizable it is for different teams, but meanwhile for the senior management still have bird's eye view, make sure everything is kind of have some standardization, they have insights, and that's not easy thing to do, and that's where Folder basically can serve best.
That's great. And you're talking about, multiple and different teams working on just one platform. That has to increase collaboration between the team itself, right?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly, why it's hardest, because different team have different workflow. They want to see different data. Like design team, they care about the product data, especially when they try to specify very creative custom furnitures and millwork. So they care a lot about specificity of the product attributes. But meanwhile, for procurement team, so they care about pricing and lead time. The delivery statuses, right? Especially on those large commercial projects, things that really shipped from overseas manufacturers and multiple, containers. So how to coordinate those delivery informations and making sure that, for example, the warehouse know what's coming in, making sure the construction project managers know when things get need to be delivered and for installations, and that's no easy task. So have everybody on the same platform will really reduce a lot of miscommunications and delays. And every single day of delay opening for hotel owners is a lot of money lost.
Absolutely. I was just actually on premise of a hotel that is under construction, and I feel like from the conversations, something that this could really help them as well.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for hotel owners. So we start working with some of the larger property owners, as well as for example, Sandals, Bayern Resorts, Tiffany Mormon Church, etc. And then one of the reasons from our owner side, they would like to, invite all their design consultants, procurement consultants to collaborate on Folio platform so that they have all the data in one place, actually for better estimates. So, as we all know, inflation happening everywhere around the world. So, and meanwhile, people are still back to the brick and mortar world. People are traveling. So there's definitely demands there. Hospitality is a very shiny spot, actually, but as a class, that's most actually inflation proof. So everybody try to get things done on time. And meanwhile, when they invest, because the interest is very high, they care a lot about all type of costs, future PIP cost, new openings, the individual item, material costs, how to look at it from a bottom up, perspective, line by line, each, from carpeting to lighting to light switches, pillowcases, what's the pricing trend in that region, really help them, do better financing deals.
So we're almost, believe it or not, I know we still have ways to go, halfway through 2024. What trends are you seeing that you think are kind of here to stay and that will continue?
I would say that, so, I just came in from HD Expo. Definitely, I would say that interest rate will still stay up high this year as well as next year. So therefore, the basically the cost, monitoring the cost, extremely well. And also because the project is getting more sophisticated, as I mentioned, the hotel industry is really competing with different type of, Airbnb, meet long-term stay. So therefore, the room, actually even configuration has changed. We know that, for example, Hilton, Hyatt, they all kind of roll out for example, 3 to 5 days, short-termish, stay concept. So that now they need to, for example, add, for example, mini kitchen in the guest rooms, and meanwhile they converting a lot of independent hotels into their brands, and so how to strike the balance of keeping the standards, just consistency of terms of especially OS and E side quality. So there's consistent quality and bulk purchasing volume, and also but from a FF&E aesthetic perspective, give their owners some creativities and so that they can be very competitive, like, have a unique identity and attract like more clienteles. And so like basically make the specification process actually a little more harder and therefore make the value engineering process for the procurement team also harder because you cannot just do things cookie cutters anymore. You have to just really, try to be creative and hustle. Yeah.
One thing you talked about earlier was how your team is international and you have a diverse team. How has that helped you at Folio to help you, I guess, grow as a company or establish a culture as well?
That's a great question. I always say that actually one of the advantage when we have like international employees covering different time zones as well as different kind of national holiday is that we are always like online for our customers. So for example, some of the customers like Tiffany, they have a team in China. For example, some of our customers have teams in Africa and they South project in like Latin America. So we have like international team members can speak different languages, can service them in the native language, provide trainings. That has been a very important, especially for some of our clients that like doing a lot of global expansions, like in Middle East and Asia and Latin America.
Well, that was great. And, we've been asking you questions this whole time. So now we're going to turn the tables and let you ask David and I a question. You get one question for both of us. So if there's something you'd like to know about David and I or have a question for us, fire away.
I would say that maybe like how did you two meet?
How did we meet? David, go ahead. I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, so we were very fortunate. We were the originators of the podcast. Was company Stay Flexi. I had got introduced from a venture capitalist and said, "Hey, I think you should talk. I want to get your opinion on this company." And I ended up being hired as an advisor. And a lot of times when I do advisory work, it's more around the marketing and sales side of things. So I was kind of a little bit of a fly on the wall every week, seeing what the company was doing, the sales efforts and things of that nature. And when we were looking at ways, the company was based in India, to expand it in the US, Steve and I came up with this idea of doing a podcast and interviewing industry leaders and trying to just really get some awareness around people that are in our industry. Because a lot of times, LinkedIn is great, but you don't get to know who these people are. You see a company, but you don't know the founder. You don't hear their voice. You don't necessarily see their face in action. Or if you do, their LinkedIn profile picture is 20 years old, or like me, it's AI. So that's how we got started. And we acquired the podcast last year. And this is last month was year 2. So that's it.
Oh, wow. I know so little about the podcast industry. So it's, getting to know how sophisticated it is. Yeah.
Yeah, the podcast industry is growing every day. That's for sure. So, well, that's great. Our producer, John, has actually been listening in this whole time. So we are going to kick it over to John for the final question here.
So it's kind of cool to see like the evolution of, where you started in financial industry to Fohlio. And I'm curious, what is your favorite thing? Because, I was like looking at the website and everything. I'm curious, what is your favorite thing about working closely with businesses, hotels, brands in the hospitality industry?
I would say that like the feeling of I actually contribute to the space that people travel to. Sometimes I saw, for example, I was at HD Expo and I saw some of our clients in person and they come over and say hi and they're so excited to give us like product feedback and sometimes they talk about a project. For example, one of our clients, the design agency, was like talking about a project that they did and showed like beautiful images of the end product. And it just made me feel so proud that I was able to, and my team were able to contribute to like bring that special experiences because, hotel is about travel, it's about experience, living a fantasy that you cannot live, in your regular daily life and bring that experience the local culture and inspirations and really unwind and take good care of yourself. Say sometimes staying in a hotel is kind of like take good care of yourself, every corner around the world. So that I feel particularly proud of. And also some of our clients, not just in hospitality, but retail, in religious space, in, education sector, just so the stuff that they use our platform to specify and make sure that those spaces function well. So we have, a good experience, whether you are in shopping or you're praying or playing or dining. And so that's like, made me feel that I help people's, life a little bit better every day. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, that does it for another episode of the Modern Hotelier. This is where you get to plug away, let people know how they can get in touch with you, how they can get in touch with Fohlio. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So yeah, check out Fohlio at www.fohlio.com. Or you can follow us on LinkedIn. And then if you want to get in touch with me by email, my email is huibin.yu@fohlio.com.
Well, that does it for another episode of the Modern Hotelier. So whether you're watching or listening, we appreciate you, and we will be with you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Today's episode is brought to you by Fohlio, the leading software for specification and procurement management in hospitality design. If you're an interior designer, procurement manager, or owner, you know how overwhelming it can be to manage thousands of products, materials, and finishes. Keeping track of specifications, vendor details, and project timelines is no easy task. That's where Fohlio comes in. Used to specify and procure over 19 million items across 80,000 plus projects, Fohlio can streamline your workflow and allow seamless collaboration with your team. From initial design to procurement through order tracking, Fohlio keeps all your project details organized in one place. Say goodbye to scattered spreadsheets and endless email chains. Organizations like Marriott, Best Western, Sandals, and Hersha are using Fohlio's intuitive centralized platform to create and manage product specifications, generate schedules, and even handle procurement all in one place. Plus, their powerful reporting tools help you ensure deadlines are met and budgets are maintained. Ready to take your project management to the next level? Visit Fohlio.com to learn more and get your personalized demo today. That's Fohlio.com. Transform the way you manage your projects with Fohlio.
You made it to the end of the Modern Hotelier. Thanks for listening. The Modern Hotelier is produced by Make More Media. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you know a guest or sponsor that would be a good fit, feel free to email us at hello@themodernhotelier.com. If you'd like to get some Modern Hotelier merch, click the merch button on modernhotelier.com or click the link below. Thanks and have a great day.